Hey everybody, I'm Mark Caples. You're listening to Obviously Wrong, brought to you by the Hard Enough School of Project Management. 7 hard lessons I learned the hard way. It's out now on paperback. It's half the price as the hardback. So if the cost of tuition is what's kept you from joining the Hard Knock University, it's half off, guys. You're going to go to leadershipknocks.com, pick it up now. And if you subscribe to my Substack, leadershipknocks.substack.com, and get a coupon code for 50% off of that. It's never been cheaper to join the Hard Knock University, everybody. Jump on board now. Okay. So today, this episode is going to come out on the weekend of the 4th of July, 4th of July weekend 2025. And I want to talk a little bit today about politics. And nobody wants to hear me talk about politics. I get that. Everybody, all of my liberal friends think that I'm a conservative. All of my conservative friends think that I'm a liberal, and I'm an independent, man. I don't play for any of those teams. I don't play for any team at all. But here's the thing, man. When you guys elect somebody, when your team wins, and I'm talking to both teams right now, you guys get out of hand with giving new powers to the president. And I want to talk to you about it because there's this disease spreading across the country. It's not airborne, but it is in the air. It's not in your bloodstream, but it is all over your timeline. And it's not contagious in the traditional sense. But when your uncle starts quoting Tucker Carlson or Rachel Maddow like gospel at Thanksgiving, then you know it's too late. We call it partisanism. But it's bigger than politics. It's a leadership rot. The kind that makes people defend power grabs because their guy is doing. It's ridiculous, man. It's just somewhere along the way, we stopped electing leaders and started crowning brands. Now we treat politics like fantasy football, and the presidency is like it's throne and it's up for grabs. And so here I am on this, it's not a political thing. It's a leadership red flag. Because if you hand someone too much power without accountability, I don't care if it's at the job site, in the boardroom, or the Oval Office. You can't be surprised when they start acting like Caesar. I mean, look, I know that it's been a long time since you heard a political take that didn't sound like a halftime speech for a team that you're not even on. And that's how I feel every day, every election cycle, no matter who is sitting in the Oval Office. And let me clarify something up front. I'm not here to save the Republic. I'm just here to file a damage report while the storm is still surging. I'm not on the left. I'm not on the right. I'm not even really in the middle. I'm over here in a corner with a strong cup of coffee and a history book. And I have this rising sense of dread. And you don't have to agree with me. I don't even agree with me half the time. Some days I wake up and I want to throw a tea party, and some days I want to tax billionaires into oblivion. But most days, I just want leaders that aren't 108 years old and addicted to pretending that they have all the answers. So if you came here looking for tribal loyalty, I've got bad news and I've got worse cotton. But if you're tired of playing mascot for people who don't care about you until voting season, welcome. You're my people. Before we dive in, let me clear something up. When I say I'm an independent, I don't mean that I'm some neutral referee with a powdered wig and gavel. History buffs know what I'm talking about. And I'm not sipping herbal tea while contemplating both sides. I'm like Treebeard in The Lord of the Rings. I'm not altogether on anybody's side. because nobody's altogether on my side. What I care about, what I obsess over, is freedom. It's not just on my radar, it's the whole damn screen. So let's talk about leadership. Presidents are people, human beings, and human beings come with flaws, ego, insecurity, ambition, blind spots the size of the federal budget. That's not new. It's not even the problem. The problem is what happens when the flaws aren't a bug, but the feature. What happens when we elect a man who doesn't just lack empathy, he resents it? What happens when the job of leading a free people lands in the lap of someone who confuses dominance with strength, who sees cruelty as strategy, who thinks humiliation is a leadership tool? That should be a disqualifier, period. It's not a partisan dig. It's not a hot take. It's a basic standard. If you're in charge of 330 million lives, including kids, nukes, veterans, a global chessboard, the bare minimum ought to be that you actually give a damn about someone besides yourself. And yet, we keep lowering the bar because some folks say, well, I like what he does. Yeah, I like what a pressure washer does, but I don't wash my kids and pets with it. This isn't about Trump versus Biden. That's a bar fight. I don't go to bars these days. This is about a job. The American presidency. And it's outgrown its leash. It's like we raised a Labrador and came back to find a wolf. The Constitution wasn't built for celebrity strongmen with infinite Twitter fingers and zero shame. It was built to constrain power. But somewhere along the way, we stopped electing leaders and started crowning brands. And now the office is too big, it's too powerful, and the men walking into it are too small. They're too fragile. They're too self-obsessed. So when I hear, but he's getting things done, Mark, I get it. I really do. I like a functional government. I like action. But at what cost? Where is your line? What can't your guy do? Can he break laws if you like the results? Can he tweet out Napoleon quotes about violating laws to save the country? Can he joke about third terms and dictatorship so long as the stock market's up and gas is cheap? Because history is pretty clear on this. Once you give power to a man who enjoys control more than service, you don't get to take it back with a strongly worded letter. Want hard knock leadership? And hold every leader accountable. Because the second you bend the rules for your team, you're not saving America. You're burning the playbook. So let me ask you something. Why is it that every modern president leaves office more powerful than the last? Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. They come in with ambition, they leave with more tools, more shortcuts, and fewer checks and balances. It's like a project where the leader borrows a little flexibility, but nobody ever puts the tool back in the toolbox. We've taken a system built in 1787 to prevent a king, and somehow we've built a damn throne. George Washington walked away from power like a man on fire who wanted a bucket. But today, presidents don't walk away, they linger. They hint at third terms. They throw parties when judges they appointed block oversight. Congress used to declare wars. Now presidents just send the missiles and send Congress the bill. Laws used to be passed by legislators. Now they're shaped with a Sharpie and called executive orders. And when someone raises their hand and says, wait, is this legal? we get a memo from a lawyer in the executive branch who says, sure it is, because I work for the guy doing it. And when the public finally blinks and notices, what do? We just slap a fig leaf of protocol on. That's the little polite fiction that we tell ourselves. Don't worry, everything's fine. It's all temporary. The system still works. But here's the hard truth. Fig leaves don't stop power grabs. They just hide them. They make us feel like the guardrails are still there when really they've been torn off and replaced with caution tape. They give us the illusion of restraint while the engine of executive power revs louder and faster every turn. You want to talk about scope creep? Forget your job site. Look at the Oval Office. You want a leadership lesson? Here's one. Every time we fail to challenge power, we train it to ignore us. And that's true if you're in office, if you're a family, and it's true in your company, and it's damn sure true in government. So next time a president, your guy or not, reaches a little too far and someone says, hey, that's not how this is supposed to work, don't roll your eye. That's not weakness. That's the last safety valve in a system that's begging not to explode. Because when fig leaves fall off, what's underneath ain't clean. Did you know that the U.S. president, any president, can declare a national emergency and instantly gain access to over 120 special powers? And these aren't just call-in FEMA powers. We're talking about controlling communications, shutting down transportation, seizing private property, and yet detaining people en masse. Some of these powers are so extreme they've never, ever been used. They just sit there like a loaded weapon on the table, waiting for the right moment or for the wrong president. Now here's where it gets dangerous. When you combine emergency powers with a forever war, like the war on terror, you've got a loophole big enough to drive a pre-747 Max. A war with no borders, no timeline, no surrender ceremony. It's just an open-ended justification for the president to say, we're still at war and I still need these powers. Let that sink in. The president can declare the war. The president can declare the emergency. And the president gets the power, unchecked and possibly unending. The Constitution never intended this. The founders fought a revolution to get rid of a monarch, not to draft up a how-to manual for one. They put Congress in charge of declaring war for a reason. But where's Congress? They've been missing in action since the Korean War. Folded like cheap lawn chairs under every president since Truman. And here's the kicker. We were warned by the very first Republican, Abraham Lincoln. Before he was even president, he said it flat out. If the same person who decides when we go to war is also the one who gains power from that war, you've built a throne, not a republic. That's an actual quote from Abraham Lincoln before he was president. That was in the 1840s. We didn't listen. And now we're living in it. So here's your hashtag hard knock lesson. Leadership isn't just about what you can do. It's about what you shouldn't do. Power without restraint isn't strength. It's rot. And if you think your guy would never abuse those powers, fine. Ask yourself what happens when it's not your guy. Let's play a game. Imagine every executive power that Trump has right now, and every power that Biden had before him, sitting in the hands of the politician that you trust the least. Maybe it's AOC. Maybe it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Maybe it's the ghost of Richard Nixon riding in on a flaming Segway. I don't care. Just pick your nightmare candidate. Now ask yourself, would you want them to have the power to declare war without Congress, to detain citizens during a national emergency of their choosing, to override laws with the stroke of the pen via executive order, to use the military on domestic soil, to shut down the press, seize property, monitor communications? Are you sweating yet? Because that's the test. That's the only test that matters. Because power doesn't stay with your guy. It moves, it expands, it outlives elections. Every loophole your favorite president exploits becomes a loaded weapon for the next one. That's not leadership, that's roulette. No, we're all arguing over yard signs and Twitter memes. People around Trump are out here joking about third terms, posting Napoleon memes that say, "He who saves the country violates no laws," and tossing around hand gestures that look a little too Axis of Evil cosplay for my taste. You want to say it's all a joke? Okay, cool, fine. It's a stupid one. And when stupid gets access to nukes, the punchline has a blast radius. And I'm sorry, I have OCD about freedom, because I've seen what happens when we hand too much power to people who think the Constitution is optional, who treat laws like speed bumps, who treat their opponents like enemies of the state. I'm going to dust off this book from 2010. Bruce Ackerman's The Decline and Fall of the American Republic. It reads less like a political science book and more like a playbook for what we've been living through. 5 years before Trump even ran for office, Bruce Ackerman saw the storm coming. He warned that our system was setting the stage for a new kind of president, not a seasoned statesman, but a charismatic outsider, no meaningful checks from their own party. Does that sound familiar? He saw the rise of the media-fed cult of personality, where consultants and cable news create an echo chamber and loyalty matters more than competence. He predicted presidents would bypass Congress entirely, governing by executive order, not legislation, and that we'd normalize emergency powers not just for hurricanes or terror threats, but to reshape the country wholesale. And maybe the most chilling part, he called out the rise of what he dubbed rubber stamp lawyers, legal scholars who don't advise the president on what's legal, but invent legal excuses for whatever the president wants to do. And that was 4 presidents ago. And here we are sleepwalking through it. This book isn't prophecy. It's a hashtag hard knock lesson in what happens when we ignore the system's pressure cracks until the whole damn thing gives. The submersible submarine implodes and everybody inside dies instantly. Except that analogy didn't work, because it ain't be instant. It would certainly be painful. Look, if you like the idea of a Caesar, if you're dreaming of a Vladimir Putin-style American president who consolidates all power into one man, then do me a favor. Get your own damn flag. Don't fly mine while you're cheering for autocracy. I don't believe any quotes I see anymore. It's all fake news these days, but they say that Thomas Jefferson was asked what kind of government we have, and he replied, "A republic if you can keep it." The flag I pledge to represents a republic, one designed to disperse power, not hoard it. A system that only works if we work to keep it working. Right now, that system is fraying. It's certainly looking a whole lot more like a corporate oligarchy to me. The founders gave us a triangle, checks and balances, but one corner, Congress, has collapsed into this cowardice and culture war cosplay. The courts are under siege from both sides, and the presidency is growing like constitutional kudzu, choking everything it touches. So here's the test of your leadership chops. Not whether you like what your guy is doing today, but whether you're willing to rein in the power you like before it's used by someone that you hate. Because if your team needs unchecked power, emergency orders, and cult behavior to win, you're not playing the game. You're rigging it. And if you're rigging the game, you've already lost the republic. We don't need Caesars. We need grown-ups. And the job of the grown-up isn't to worship power, it's to limit it. This system, this republic, only works if we keep it. The real question isn't, do you like what your guy is doing? It's, what happens when it's not your guy? And by the time we answer that, it might be too late.